today's Top Boxing News.
I always thought that if I ever caught a loss, that it would be really extremely hard to pull myself together and get motivated for another camp. But it was the complete opposite. Like when I stepped out of that ring, by the time I got home a couple days later, I was like calling my team, get me a fight ASAP. Like I just had to get back on the horse. You know, I wanted to fight as soon as possible, and I wanted to fight someone who was a top contender and someone competitive. So it took a little longer because I was supposed to fight on the Josh Taylor Catterall card. So it's taking a little bit longer than I had hoped, but regardless, it's all lined up well, and I'm good.
Though not every aspect of Michaela's ring return went according to plan. You know, Christina Lenardatu not being allowed to compete,
not being cleared by the BBBOC,
Lucy Wildheart saving the day, standing in. I can believe that about Michaela based on her character and her temperament, that she's a competitor, that immediately after that loss to Alicia Baumgartner, she was right back in the gym, working on things, looking to get back in the winner's bracket as soon as possible, in the most challenging fight possible.
The Lenardatu fight.
Unfortunately for Christina, she's not going to get to fight tomorrow. I don't actually think that Lucy Wildheart will present the same challenges that Christina will. She's a solid fighter, don't misunderstand me, just not as experienced and not as big a puncher as Christina.
Still a very good fight, especially on short notice.
I think everyone has been hunting down Katie Taylor. It's no secret that, you know, she's been at the top of the game since I started the sport. So I have a ton of respect for her, but at the end of the day, I've always wanted to challenge myself against her. I've always believed I could beat her. And so I got to get through Lenardatu this Saturday night, and she's the reward.
These were Michaela Mayer's thoughts before Lenardatu was taken out of the equation. I have no doubts these are still Michaela's thoughts afterwards. This is all about becoming Katie Taylor's mandatory challenger. Initially, the WBO and WBC interim titles were on the line. As a result of things having happened the way they happened, only the WBC interim title will be on the line now.
Serves the same function.
If Michaela wins, she will in effect become the mandatory challenger to Katie Taylor by way of the WBC. Now, I don't actually think she's going to get Katie in the ring.
And I don't think Michaela expects to.
She's not stupid. She's a smart girl. I think that Katie Taylor, if she beats Chantel Cameron at 140, she'll stay up there. Maybe she vacates the title she was holding at 135, at which point Michaela Mayer will already be in line to pick one up.
That's if Katie wins.
If Katie loses, maybe she runs it back with Chantel, has a rematch.
Maybe.
There's a third scenario in there. Let's say Katie Taylor wins the Chantel Cameron fight, but she decides she don't want to stay at 140 pounds. She decides she wants to move back down and continue to reign as the lightweight division's undisputed champion. Moreover, they decide to reschedule the Amandia Serrano fight, the Amandia Serrano rematch.
That could be a problem.
Katie Taylor would not be at liberty to move forward in a scenario like that where Michaela's already her mandatory challenger without answering to Michaela and the WBC. Michaela and her team, who I have no doubts, would push for that Katie Taylor fight.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
But now Michaela's going to be in action this weekend across the pond in the United Kingdom. Media-wise, she feels more appreciated in the UK, and her influence is much greater.
For those who might be wondering why Michaela's next fight is on a Queensbury Promotions show as opposed to a Top Rank show here in America.
Media-wise, I definitely feel more appreciated out here. Mayor told BoxingScene.com. When they do a story out here on me, the whole country gets to it, whereas in America, it's not really like that. Out here, the influence is much greater, so the businesswoman in me always thinks about where I can go to make the most of my career, where I'm wanted. I've always had the dream of building up the market for women in boxing in America.
By fighting in the UK.
Mel, Top Rank's UK publicist, had the great idea that we should come back here. She told our team, the buzz here is still going for you. Come back and keep up that momentum. They love you here. We agreed.
Lucy Wildheart, who Michaela's supposed to be fighting, you know, she's based out of the UK, as is Ebony Bridges, Australia's own Ebony Bridges. She decided to move to the UK, Johanna Wanyu.
Johanna was based out of France. Currently, she's based out of the UK, likely for the same reason that Michaela Mayer's fighting there this weekend. It's just a better, more nurturing audience for a female fighter.
It's the best in the business right now.
I have so many great fans here who believe in me, stated Mayer. I did all that work, really twice, because we had two promotions for the same fight since the Queen had passed before the first date, but we did all that work selling the hell out of the fight In the process, we made a ton of fans.
It was ahead of the Baumgartner fight.
This weekend, she'll be opposite the ring, Lucy Wildheart, and she's returning to the women's lightweight division. I think we're going to see a more invigorated, more energized Michaela Mayer than the one we've been seeing in previous fights, because she won't have to boil down to 130. She won't have to cut that extra 5.
She'll be stronger. She'll be sharper.
And if she can rack herself up a highlight reel knockout, that only adds to her overall appeal, though Lucy Wildheart, being a young fighter, a strong fighter, an ambitious one, and a bit of a gym nut.
Hard to say that Michaela's gonna knock her out. Michaela's a great boxer, but she's not really a knockout merchant.
Though who knows, at 135, not having cut that extra 5, she may be somewhat stronger than what we've been seeing.
We'll see.
Conservatively, I've got Michaela Mayer winning on points, and I've got Joe Joyce in the main event winning by way of a late technical knockout.
That WBO interim title fight at heavy.
Combatants are all weighed in the show.
It's ready to go.
Men's lightweight news on the heels of his lightweight debut. Shakur Stevenson says Devin's gonna win. Lomachenko's a real good fighter, but he's too small.
Vasyl Lomachenko is noticeably smaller than Devin Haney, but many would argue that he's a bigger puncher than Devin, by and large.
Vasyl Lomachenko, unlike Devin Haney, he's not struggling to make lightweight. Devin is.
So is Devin's natural size over Vasyl Lomachenko an advantage or a handicap?
Shakur Stevenson already thought Devin Haney would win their lightweight title bout, but Lomachenko's small frame further convinced Stevenson of the outcome. Devin's gonna win, as Stevenson told BoxingScene.com. Lomachenko, I just seen him in a gym. He's too small. I think that's the real problem. Lomachenko's a real good fighter. I don't take nothing away from him. I just think he's really small. I'm just moving up to 135 and I'm bigger than him.
It's a tough call.
Shakur Stevenson's right that Vasyl Lomachenko is a much smaller guy than most of the other guys you find in today's lightweight division, but consider what he did to Masayoshi Nakatani. Consider what he did to Richard Comey and Jorge Linares.
He stopped Linares where Devin Haney didn't. Devin who's bigger, Devin who's younger.
There's a strong argument that he's not stronger. He's not a bigger puncher than Loma.
There's reason to believe that.
I done been around Devin for years, as Stevenson said. Throughout the years, me and him were always one weight class apart. Like, he'll be the weight class above me. So it seems real normal right now that when I'm going up to 135, it's natural that his body changed and he's having a hard time making 135, and 140 is definitely the next option for him. So I'm not going to say he's ducking or none of that stuff. I'm a person who's been around Devin, so I know exactly what's going on. You can look at his last weigh-in. He looked drained and sucked up and looked real hungry. So it's like, I know he's probably not going to stay at 135. I'm surprised he's even fighting this fight at 135 after the way that he looked in his last fight. He looked good in the fight, but at the weigh-in, he looked drained and sucked up.
Shakur Stevenson expects that Devin Haney's going to beat Vasyl Lomachenko.
If he does, he'll have reason enough to pursue him. Reason enough to pursue Devin Haney, who he doesn't expect to stay at 135 much longer, though if he does...
Shakur wants him.
Shakur, who warns Devin Haney, I always got the best of him. Tell him, come on!
I myself, like Shakur Stevenson, expect that Devin Haney's days at lightweight are numbered, but just the other day, BoxingScene.com printed an article that seems to suggest that Devin wants to stay at lightweight. He wants to stay there for a Gervonta Davis fight.
But he didn't mention Shakur Stevenson. There was no mention in the article of Devin staying there for young Shakur.
You know, it doesn't take the boxing fans very long to start throwing the duck word around as soon as they see a guy's being selective.
And if Devin Haney is saying that he's willing to stay at 135 for Gervonta, why wouldn't he be willing to take on Shakur Stevenson while he's there? That's a decent-sized fight. If you can't get Gervonta in the ring, you can fight him.
Fight Shakur. Top rank will make it worth your while.
Newark's main name is the Bricks, and tonight I had bricks in my hands. We did what we were supposed to do. We settled our business, and now we're going to enjoy it with the family, as Stevenson wants a crack at undisputed world champion Devin Haney, who faces Vasyl Lomachenko next month. As Stevenson and Haney have sparred several times in the past. Just tell all those other lightweights to get ready. I'm waiting for them. I can't wait for them to finish the fights they've got going on, and then it's my turn, as Stevenson said.
It was in his post-fight interview last Saturday.
We don't know here and now what's going to happen. It's too soon to tell, and it's too tough to call. Devin Haney has youth and size on Vasyl Lomachenko, but but not power.
Can he overpower Vasyl Lomachenko?
It's a question I've broached many times here on the channel when discussing this fight. Devin Haney primarily is a pure boxer and an outside fighter. Mid-range to inside, he's quite vulnerable. We saw that in the Linares fight, and we saw that in the Diaz fight.
Shakur might like his chances, but
I just don't know. Shakur continued, "Tell him, Devin Haney, to come on. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I swear to God, I've been waiting for that for a long time. Me and Devin, been in the ring with each other for years. I always got the best of Devin. Tell him to come on."
But if I told you that I feel that Shakur Stevenson is a pure boxer like Devin Haney, but he's not limited to being a pure boxer, that he's actually better with that base style than Devin is.
I mean, we know that Shakur Stevenson's not struggling to make lightweight like Devin. That's a hindrance, no matter how you slice it. No matter how good you think he boxes, struggling to make the weight, that's a hindrance.
That's a handicap for Devin that Shakur doesn't have. Shakur just got there.
Something you have to think about when you think about these two.
These three, really. Devin hasn't made his way past Loma yet.
So Lomachenko, who says Haney is strong, smart, and will be a hard fight, but he's not comparable to Mayweather.
Some truth in that.
Devin Haney doesn't have Floyd Mayweather's spite. At these weights, Floyd Mayweather was a spiteful puncher.
Did you see what he did to Chico Corrales? Did you see what he did to Arturo Gatti?
Devin Haney is coming off an impressive two-fight beatdown against George Kambosos Jr. in 2022 that even captured the attention of two-time Olympic gold medalist for Ukraine. Lomachenko labeled Haney's second fight against George Kambosos Jr. as high level in an interview with BoxingScene.com and other reporters. "I liked it," said Lomachenko. "Now he has big experience in fights.
Big fights.
I respect and like his style. He's a very strong and smart boxer. It will be very, very hard fight."
Those things might be true. Might be a hard fight for Vasyl Lomachenko and Devin Haney. He is a smart boxer. He is. But is he comparable to Mayweather?
Nothing Devin Haney did to George Kambosos in their two fights is the equivalent of what Floyd Mayweather did to Arturo Gatti, what Floyd Mayweather did to Chico Corrales. It doesn't compare.
There are often a lot of comparisons between the fighter that Devin Haney is and the fighter that Floyd Mayweather was. But if you grew up in the Mayweather era and you watched him, you'll know that at these weights, he was a fucking animal.
So Lomachenko continued, "My experience is very important in this fight. We are both fighters of a high level. It will be interesting for boxing. For the last several years, the 24-year-old Haney has drawn comparisons as perhaps being the next Floyd Mayweather Jr.
There are some parallels.
If Devin Haney mirrors Floyd Mayweather, any version of him, it would have to be the older version of him that was more economic.
Not as spiteful.
And not as big a puncher when he moved up to welterweight. You know, that's the version of Floyd that perhaps people feel Devin mirrors.
Yeah, the one in his mid to late 30s.
But even that version of Floyd Mayweather was a very different fighter to the fighter that Haney is here today. You know, Floyd Mayweather was actually fluid, mid-range to inside. He wasn't limited to boxing from the outside behind a straight jab like Devin is. Devin, for the most part, is an outside fighter, whereas Floyd, he could fight on the inside or the outside.
Most of his defensive highlights, the ones they make videos about, are in the pocket, whereas Devin Haney...
He's nowhere near as fluid as Floyd was in the pocket. When Lomachenko was asked if he'd compare Haney to Mayweather like others have, Lomachenko squashed that narrative. Maybe, I don't know. If he could be compared to Mayweather, for me, not. But for somebody, maybe yes, said Lomachenko, a very diplomatic answer.
Having seen Floyd Mayweather's entire career pan out, I can tell you that Devin Haney, yeah, he's a pure boxer like Mayweather was later on in his career.
Yeah.
But he's not the spitting image of Floyd. He's not a carbon copy.
Nowhere near as good as Floyd was, mid-range to inside. I mean, the Canelo-Alvarez fight, the way that he dominated Canelo, that wasn't playing keep away and staying on the perimeter of the ring. That was in the pocket.
Well, within striking distance.
Devin would sooner tie a guy up than evade and counter the way Floyd
was great in the pocket.
Further insights into the mind of Vasyl Lomachenko, what lies beyond a Devin Haney fight if he wins. Lomachenko is open to fighting Naoya Inoue at 126 pounds. Shuts the door on a future at 140. Haney has alluded to a move to 140 pounds because it's increasingly becoming more difficult for him to make 135. When Lomachenko was asked if he too would consider moving up to 140 for a chance to avenge his loss to Lopez, the two-time Olympic gold medalist immediately pumped the brakes on that thought. 135, everybody knows, it's not my weight class. I can't do 140. After that, you ask me about Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, so sorry, Lomachenko said in an interview with BoxingScene.com and other reporters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's expecting or was expecting Vasyl Lomachenko to go up to 140.
I wasn't. I think he's reached the ceiling at 135 pounds. I think that's about as high as he can go.
Yeah.
In what appears to be a fantasy fight for now, Lomachenko was also asked if he would go back down to 126 to possibly fight top-ranked stablemate Naoya Inoue, the former 118-pound undisputed champion who has yet to make his 122-pound debut. Maybe I would fight Inoue. I forgot how to make weight, said Lomachenko. I need to try to make 126, but of course, it's always interesting fighting top fighters near our weight classes. I've seen his fights. He has power. He's a top fighter.
This reminds me of Manny Pacquiao's comments years ago when he was still with Top Rank and he was asked about moving down to fight Vasyl Lomachenko.
That fight never happened, and I don't expect that this one will either. Lomachenko versus Inoue.
It's not gonna happen, man.
Vasyl Lomachenko emerges victorious in the upcoming Devin Haney fight. He will be reintegrated into the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list for not only being a 3-division champion, but a newly crowned undisputed champion. That's been Vasyl Lomachenko's goal for a very long time. And if he realizes that, Devin is out and Loma is in, per the rules that govern the list. No fighter absent of a world title coming right off a loss is allowed to maintain a rank. If Devin loses,
he's out.
The vacancy that creates will quickly be occupied by Vasyl Lomachenko, once again, per the rules that govern the list. In beating a pound-for-pound fighter, you become one yourself. And Devin Haney, he's ranked in the bottom tier of the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list.
What could be a fairy tale ending for the career of Vasyl Lomachenko that I've no doubts is winding down. I mean, he's a great fighter, pound-for-pound talent, don't get me wrong, but he is in his mid-30s, and he has reached his ceiling at 135 pounds. He can't go any higher.
Miles on the odometer, the wear and tear that comes with a prolonged career, a prolonged amateur career, and a professional one.
Now, I don't know how much longer Vasyl Lomachenko would elect to stick around if he actually beats Devin Haney. If he loses,
I imagine he'd contemplate retirement. I imagine that if he falters on the biggest stage that he's ever fought on for that last brass ring, that undisputed crown, if it doesn't work out, he might call it a career.
he might. We'll see what happens.